Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right after this. 4 uploads talking about this scandal. This is like the 1919 Black Sox scandal in baseball for modern day basketball. Hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. Doesn't matter where you are politically, any spectrum. Thank you so very, very much for tuning in. I'm happy to have you here. To my super chat, thank you. Let's get started. The Athletic Congress requests briefing from Adam Silver on NBA gambling scandal by October 31st. Congress is now involved. We're going to get to the indictment. We're going to get to the good stuff, and I say good stuff like the X-ray poker tables and the rigged card shuffling machines in 1 second. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver reflects on his op-ed calling for a change to sports betting a decade ago. I want to give you some quick context as to why the commissioner and others, not just the people indicted, are potentially in legal trouble, although there's over 30 people arrested already. And those 2 sentences were the start of an op-ed piece that carried Silver's byline. The headline, "Legalize and Regulate Sports Betting," represented a seismic shift from the NBA's previous position on the matter. Silver was simply trying to start a conversation. Okay. He wanted to, he wrote an op-ed, "Legalize and Regulate Sports Betting." The conversation has now culminated to the following. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel. I'll be reading the indictment in a second. Let's get to the X-ray poker tables and the rigged card shuffling machines and all the different ways that people were scammed in these high-stake poker games that were run by criminal organizations.
So the world was thunderstruck over the major mafia-linked sports rigging scandal. Star players have been hit with a major foul as an FBI crackdown on suspected illegal gambling rings with more than 30 indictments. Portland Trailblazers head coach Chauncey Billups, Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, and former NBA guard and coach Damon Jones were among those arrested. FBI Director Kash Patel revealing suspects used rigged shuffling machines and X-ray tables and more.
If you break the law, we're coming for you, whether you play in the NBA, coach in the NBA. And these individuals got in bed with La Casa Nostra and 4 of the 5 major crime families in New York City to create gambling empires. They literally had scanners at the poker tables, where they literally had professional athletes in the NBA walk off the court so their proposition bets could be met.
So here to talk us through this and the fascinating technology that was just mentioned. For all of us, that was new. Not to our next guest. Joining us now is cheating expert and casino consultant Sal Picciante. Sal, what is your takeaway from what we know so far after yesterday's massive presser?
Honestly, it's not surprising. The devices, the technology they used is old. There's nothing new in this. I think it's the law between the mafia and the sports players that are attracting people. But it didn't surprise me. That machine right there is a deckmate. That machine has a camera in it. It's used by casinos. That way that camera could record the cards or film the cards and let you know when a card is missing. And it can tell you exactly what card is missing. However, the cheats altered that machine to use that camera to know what the players have. And that machine would relay that information to the players who's going to win. They also used a scanning device, such as this one right here. If you take this deck of cards, we're going to just say for argument's sake, 3 people. If you take this deck of cards, shuffle them up, this phone looks like a regular phone, but it's not. It's a scanning device. If you listen, you'll hear it. 2, that means the second hand is going to win right now if I deal these cards out for poker. 2. So if you're sitting in the second hand right now, you don't have a queen 4 suited. You're staying in. Now you have a full house. I'm sorry, not a full, it's a flush, a spade flush. This looks like a regular cell phone, but it's not. If you see right there, it actually tells you who's going to win. I have it on display mode. If you put on clock mode, then you won't see those numbers. Those numbers would be transmitted to me via an earpiece, so I can hear 2, 4, 1, 3, 6, 8, and this will tell me who's going to win.
So let me ask him, if I walked into a casino and I sat down and I turned my phone like that and I was able to, you got able to see that earpiece, would you just tell me to get up if you were running that casino?
Not at all, because players use their cell phones all the time. And if you said to me, no cell phones, I also have a watch that can scan those cards, transmit to my cell phone in my pocket, and then transmit to my earpiece.
Real quick, I want to throw this at you. This guy, Matt Berkeley, was on a podcast. He's a known gambler, and he said that they knew about Chauncey Billups in the past. They said that very experienced players were losing in some of his games, and the players playing against the experienced players were doing things that were totally unorthodox. It shows they didn't even know the rules of the game. So this scam was beginning to build. When do you think this investigation really started?
That I don't know. To be honest, I don't have any idea anything about the investigation. But you are right. It's the play that will give it up. If you start seeing people staying in with hands they shouldn't be staying in on and winning, something's wrong.
Right. We got to have you on because we're just learning about this, and I'm not in that world, but a lot of people want to learn details about what really went wrong. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, Sal.
So that was very eye-opening. I want to read you page 7 of the indictment, fraudulent wagering scheme. In or about in between December 22nd, December 2022 and March 2024, the defendants, together with others, participated in a scheme to defraud the betting companies by providing, obtaining, and using non-public information relating to NBA games to place and cause others to place fraudulent sports wagers for profit and to launder the proceeds thereof. Fraudulent wagering. Okay, so hold on one second. The defendants and their co-conspirators placed and caused others to place these fraudulent wagers through the betting company's mobile applications and retail sports books. In doing so, the defendants and their co-conspirators made and caused others to make materially false and misleading statements and representations to the betting companies and to omit to state one or more material facts which made what was represented under the circumstances misleading, including that the wagers were placed in accordance with the betting company's terms and conditions and house rules prohibiting, among other things, wagering based on non-public information and straw betting. So this pertains to, so there was poker games, but there were also games that were allegedly fixed. These are the 7 NBA games illegally targeted by gamblers. So you have 31 people arrested. March 23rd, 2023, Hornets versus Pelicans. Rozier exited 9 minutes and 34 seconds into the game with a foot injury. He was not listed on the Hornets injury report and is alleged to have told the defendant he would be leaving the game prematurely due to injury. Rozier finished with 5 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists, well below his season averages in points. The Hornets lost 115-96. The defendant allegedly sold the info to bettors, who cashed in for a grand sum of $260,000 on bets against his points, assists, and three-pointer prop totals, according to prosecutors. Rozier is alleged to have met with the defendants 1 week later at his home to count his cut of the winnings. March 24th, 2023. So let's see here. March 24th, 2023. Trailblazers versus Bulls. The Trailblazers rested 4 starters in the late stretch of the lost season. Those players include a star point guard, Damian Lillard. Lillard was listed as probable, and Nurkic was listed as questionable. The official injury report that morning. The indictment alleges co-conspirator 8 tipped off a defendant before the decision was made public, prompting gamblers to place roughly $100,000 on the Blazers to lose. Chicago won 124-96. So these are just some of the games. Let's go ahead and continue. This is Kash Patel and other law enforcement officials talking about or introducing the investigation and what took place in terms of the arrests.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joseph Nocella. I am the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. I'd like to welcome you here today. In addition, we have with us today FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Assistant Director in Charge Christopher Rea of the New York Field Office, Special Agent in Charge of the New York Field Office Leslie Bakshi's, New York Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security Ricky Patel, Newark Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security Michael McCarty, Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch, Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny, and the Executive Director of the Waterfront Commission, Phoebe Sorrell. I'm now going to turn the podium over to FBI Director Kash Patel.
Good morning. Today we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Casa Nostra. The men and women up here standing with me represent a small portion of the leadership team that brought profound justice in an era that needed it more than any. I'll just highlight some of the details in the case and the FBI work, and then you'll hear from the others. But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today, former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchesi crime families. And you'll hear more about those details today. The charges and the arrests that were taken down across this country range from wire fraud, money laundering, extortion, robbery, illegal gambling. This FBI will leave no room for any perpetrator of crime across this country. You hear a lot about our work of defending the homeland and crushing violent crime. Well, this work is also representative of a colossal portion of the FBI's mandate to keep America safe and to keep our entertainment industry fair and secure. The men and women that are standing up here today worked tireless hours, days, months, and years. And the fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation. And we could not have done it without our interagency partners that are before us today. The NYPD, HSI, and teams of law enforcement officials from around the country made this day possible. It takes a team to bring this kind of justice, sweeping justice, into the halls of the United States courtrooms, where our brave United States Attorney has led this prosecution. It takes courageous prosecutors to stand before you and say, we will not allow this kind of illicit activity to happen, not only at the national sporting level, but also where it hides in La Casa Nostra. And when these two collided together, they perpetrated a fraud that is historic in terms of not just money, but the scheme and the deceit that they utilize to steal and swindle people from money, to include crypto fraud. This is an operation that showcases to you that under President Trump's administration, there is no room for any type of criminal behavior, be it on the world's largest stage or in the back rooms of tiny parlors where card games are being played. We are proud to stand here today with the men and women of the FBI and this legal team. And to the United States Attorney, I just want to thank you personally for taking the time to display the work that the media is about to hear about today in detail. As I said, it does take courageous prosecutors, but it takes a courageous United States Attorney to bring this case, because we are going to take heat for it. But we don't shy away in this administration. We don't say no. What we do is we bring the results across the finish line. We bring them to the public. We bring you accountability. And yes, they will have their day in court, and you will hear the evidence through the court system exclusively. We will not deny anyone of due process. And that's the brilliance of this system. That's the brilliance of this administration. Everyone will be held to account. So with that, I turn it over to United States Attorney Nocella. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patel. To be clear, we're announcing today indictments in two major cases, both involving fraud. One involves sports betting, and the other involves illegal gambling, very specifically rigged poker games. The first indictment involves 6 defendants who are alleged to have participated in one of the most brazen sports corruption schemes since online sports betting became widely legalized in the United States. This scheme is an insider sports betting conspiracy that exploited confidential information about National Basketball Association athletes and teams. The second indictment involves 31 defendants alleged to have participated in a nationwide scheme to rig illegal poker games. These defendants, which include former professional athletes, used high-tech cheating technology to steal millions of dollars from victims in underground poker games that were secretly fixed. The games in the New York area were backed by the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese crime families of La Cosa Nostra. While the cases are separate, there are 3 overlapping defendants charged in both cases: Damon Jones, Eric Ernest, and Shane Hennon. The indictments in these cases contain only allegations, and the defendants are presumed innocent until they are proven guilty in a court of law. But my message to the defendants who've been rounded up today is this: your winning streak has ended. Your luck has run out. Violating the law is a losing proposition, and you can bet on that. First, I would like.
So there were illegal poker games, which we talked about. There were alleged fixed games that I mentioned, and I read the New York Post article. We can get to the indictment in a couple of minutes. I just want to give you kind of a summary from the law enforcement officials right now, and we'll get to the indictment, and we'll get to other articles as also. The live stream started with the context of, if you could believe this, the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, around 10 years ago, wrote that gambling should be legal. Now, for the life of me, I don't understand why, if you're a millionaire, or if you're gambling high stakes poker, why wouldn't you just go to Las Vegas or Atlantic City? You get comped, beautiful suites, restaurant shows. I just don't get it. Why would you go to some kind of underground poker game where almost certainly there are going to be the X-ray poker tables that we just talked about, or that the expert talked about in the beginning of the live stream? I don't get it. I just don't understand it. This is a tragedy. Also, Chauncey Billups is one of the great players of his generation, really Hall of Fame player.
I'd like to talk about United States versus Ernest, the NBA basketball gambling case. The defendants in this case are Eric Ernest, Marvez Farley, Shane Hennon, De Niro Laster, Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach, and Terry Rozier, a current NBA player. Other co-conspirators were previously charged for their roles in the scheme, including former NBA player Jonte Porter. Between December 2022 and March 2024, these defendants perpetrated a scheme to defraud by betting on inside, non-public information about NBA athletes and teams. The non-public information included when...
Okay, so that one of the wonderful viewers on the live chat said taxes. That's one. Yes, you're right. I'm sure that's a major consideration of people who wanted to go into these types of games. Um, let's continue.
Specific players would be sitting out future games, or when they would pull themselves out early for purported injuries or illnesses. They relied on corrupt individuals, including Jones and Rozier. They also misused information obtained through long-standing friendships that they had with NBA players and coaches. And in at least one instance, they got their information by threatening a current player, Porter, because of his pre-existing gambling debts. Defendants used this non-public information to place hundreds of thousands of.
So if you watch Michael Francis on YouTube, he talks about how if you do owe money to the mafia, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, if you're a player, they'll say, hey, fumble the ball or miss the free throw, or, in the 1919 White Sox, Black Sox scandal, start walking people if you're the pitcher. So they'll try to get their money somehow in a more in a creative manner to get the player to not perform, and then they'll bet on the other team. I mean, your life is at risk if you're dealing with criminal organizations and betting.
Dollars in fraudulent bets, mostly in the form of prop bets on individual player performance. The bets were placed through online sports books and also in person at casinos. The defendants relied on a network of straw bettors to place the maximum amount of bets to increase their potential profits. Most of these bets succeeded, and the intended losses were in the millions of dollars. The defendants then laundered their illegal winnings in various ways: peer-to-peer platforms, bank wires, and simple cash exchanges. The indictment details specific examples where the defendants profited from illegal gambling and illegal betting on various NBA games about the performance of players on, among other things, the Charlotte Hornets, the Portland Trail Blazers, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Toronto Rangers. Each defendant in the NBA basketball gambling case has been charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and conspiracy to commit money laundering.
How to stop estrogen spikes.
Now, I would like to turn to the other case, United States versus Aiello, the rigged poker game case. Beginning as early as 2019, the defendants in this case orchestrated a scheme to use wireless cheating technology to run rigged poker games across the United States, including in the Hamptons, Las Vegas, Miami, and Manhattan. The scheme targeted victims known as, quote, fish, who were often lured to participate in these rigged games by the chance to play alongside former professional athletes who were known as, quote, face cards. The so-called face cards included the defendant Chauncey Billups, who at the time of the scheme was a former NBA player and is currently the head coach of the Portland Trail Blazers, and also Damon Jones, a former NBA player and coach. What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, including the face cards, were in on the scam. Once the game was underway, the defendants fleeced the victims out of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars per game. The defendants used a variety of very sophisticated cheating technologies, some of which were provided by other defendants in exchange for a share of the profits from the scheme. For example, they used off-the-shelf shuffling machines that had been secretly altered in order to read the cards in the deck, predict which player at the table had the best poker hand, and relay that information to an off-site operator. The off-site operator sent the information via cell phone back to a co-conspirator at the table, and that person at the table was known as the quarterback. The quarterback then signaled secretly the information he had received from to others at the table, and together they used that information in order to win their games and to cheat the victims. Defendants used other cheating technologies such as poker chip tray analyzers, which is a poker chip tray that secretly reads cards using a hidden camera, special contact lenses or eyeglasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table. What you see depicted on screen right now is an example of the X-ray table that reveals the cards. Although they are face down on the table, they can be read because of the X-ray technology. The Mafia, specifically members and associates of the Bonanno, Gambino, and Genovese organized crime families, had pre-existing control over non-rigged, illegal poker games around New York City. As a result, they also became involved in the rigged poker games, helping to organize the games and taking a cut of the proceedings, and working to enforce the collection of debts. The defense.
I mean, if you're worth millions of dollars, which I don't have that either luxury or I don't have that problem, okay? And if you're watching, you might not have that problem also, being worth millions upon millions of dollars. If you're worth millions of dollars, let's say you like gambling. If you gotta, it's not you're not being paranoid by saying, hey, if I don't go to Las Vegas or to Atlantic City and I go to some poker game underground, what are the chances that there's going to be X-ray poker tables or X-ray poker tables? Most people don't have any clue, but it's like there's cheating in card games has been going on since card games were invented. So, I mean, if you're talking about hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands or thousands of dollars and you don't know the people, I mean, if it's your friends and you trust them, that's a little bit different. But even then, you have to be careful. But it's like, if you just are a millionaire, you don't know who you're playing poker with. And it's like, I don't understand. I just don't get it.
Defendants laundered their proceeds, including through cash exchanges, the use of multiple shell companies, and through cryptocurrency transfers. As part of the scheme, some of the defendants and their co-conspirators also committed acts of violence, including the gunpoint robbery of a person in order to obtain a rigged shuffling machine, and extortions that were perpetrated against victims in order to ensure that they repaid their gambling debts. Defendants who participated in the rigged poker scheme are charged with wire fraud conspiracy. Other defendants have been charged with crimes including illegal gambling, money laundering, Hobbs Act robbery, and extortions. This case.
So if we go back right here and we see what this expert is telling us, this is how they did it.
They used is old. There's nothing new in this. I think it's the law between the mafia and the sports players that are attracting people. But it didn't surprise me. That machine right there is a deckmate. That machine has a camera in it. It's used by casinos. That way that camera could record the cards or film the cards and let you know when a card is missing. And it can tell you exactly what card is missing. However, the cheats altered that machine to use that camera to know what the players have. And that machine would relay that information to the players who's going to win. They also used a scanning device, such as this one right here. If you take this deck of cards, we're going to just say for argument's sake, 3 people. If you take this deck of cards, shuffle them up. This phone looks like a regular phone, but it's not. It's a scanning device. If you listen, you'll hear it. 2, that means the second hand is going to win right now if I deal these cards out for poker. 2. So if you're sitting in the second hand right now You now have a queen four suited. You're staying in. Now you have a full house. I'm sorry, not a full house, a flush, a spade flush. This looks like a regular cell phone, but it's not. If you see right there, it actually tells you who's going to win. I have it on display mode. If you put it on clock mode, then you won't see those numbers. Those numbers would be transmitted to me via an earpiece. So I can hear 2, 4, 1, 3, 6, 8. And this will tell me who's going to win.
So let me ask him, if I walked into a casino and I said,
So poker, blackjack, card games are mostly math. It's a whole lot of math and memorizing and odds and percentages. So if it's not difficult to do this, to kind of cheat. You don't even, I mean, you probably, I don't know, personally, but you probably don't even need all the technology. There are likely other ways to cheat as well.
sat down and I turned my phone like that and I was able to, you got able to see that earpiece, would you just tell me to get up if you were running that casino?
Not at all, because players use their cell phones all the time. And if you said to me, no cell phones, I also have a watch that can scan those cards, transmit to my cell phone in my pocket, and then transmit to my earpiece.
Real quick, I want to throw this at you. This guy, Matt Berkeley, was on a podcast.
And there's video or closed caption TV, or you're going into a place you don't know. You're likely going to be on video. Okay, you're likely going to be recorded. So it doesn't make any sense to me that if you're some of the people indicted and arrested have millions of dollars worth of contracts. But again, it's like, gambling is linked directly a lot of times to a person or many people's ego. So a lot of men have an ego saying, I can do this. I know sports and I know how to gamble and I can do this. I believe in myself and I know that this team's going to win. You know what? Once you realize that you suck at gambling, which I'm terrible at gambling. So when I was a lot younger, I said, you know what? It's okay to suck at gambling. It's okay not to know what the heck you're doing, even though I know sports. I love sports. I know football. I know basketball. I know baseball. I know history. I love sports. But once you realize that, hey, you're not so good at gambling, because just for whatever, just the odds and percentages, nobody really is, then you don't have to gamble anymore. I just hopefully fixed or cured a whole bunch of people, but maybe not.
Yes, he's a known gambler, and he said that they knew about Chauncey Billups in the past. They said that very experienced players were losing in some of his games, and the players playing against the experienced players were doing things that were totally unorthodox. It shows they didn't even know the rules of the game. So this scam was beginning to build. When do you think this investigation really started?
That I don't know. To be honest,
Let's continue with the law enforcement, and we'll read a little bit more of the indictment.
Demonstrates our office's unrelenting commitment to fighting the scourge of organized crime in whatever form it takes. I'd like to conclude my remarks by thanking the incredible hard work of our law enforcement partners, including the FBI, Homeland Security, the NYPD, and the Waterfront Commission. I also want to thank the dedicated prosecutors who built these two cases and who are standing to my right. Benjamin Weintraub, David Bourbon, Caitlin Farrell, Michael Gibaldi, Irisa Chen, and Sean Sherman. They had the assistance of paralegal specialists Liam McNett, John Schneider, Marlene Bosler. Also deserving of our thanks because of their outstanding investigative work on the NBA case are FBI Special Agents Russell Lantier, Dominic Mariani, Amy Giaroso, Shane Wilkins, and Supervisory Special Agent Luke Hardison. On the rigged poker game scheme, outstanding work was performed by FBI Special Agents Thomas Cribbin, Jeff Boriola, Jonathan Corona, Alexander Silverman, Amy Campanaro, and Supervisory Special Agent Michael Malahy, as well as NYPD Task Officer James McCullough, and from Homeland Security, Supervisory Special Agent Charles Freund, and from the Waterfront Commission, Detective Paul Shimborski. Finally, I want to note that the investigations in both cases are ongoing, and we encourage anyone with information about either scheme to please contact the FBI.
So let's read a little bit more of the indictments. Right here, I want to read you this. March 23rd, 2023. This is from the indictment of the potentially rigged NBA game. During the 2022-2023 NBA season, the defendant, Terry Rozier, played for the Charlotte Hornets. Prior to the Hornets' March 23rd, 2023 game against the New Orleans Pelicans, Rozier informed the defendant that Rozier was going to prematurely remove himself from the game in the first quarter due to a supposed injury and not return later. Rozier provided this information for the purpose of enabling defendant to place wagers based on this information. Rozier was not on the Hornets injury report prior. The public, including the betting companies, was also not aware of Rozier's plan to exit the game. In exchange for the information, approximately $100,000 from their expected fraudulent agreed to pay $100,000 from the winnings. Okay, so let's just go down here. And this is so there's a whole lot of money and a whole lot of conspiring going on regarding the games. Portland Trailblazers game on or about March 24th. Prior to the game, the Trailblazers record was 32-40 and the team was out of the playoff contention. Prior to the game, defendant provided this non-public information. So hold on one second. Co-conspirator, before the news was several of Trailblazers' best players, an individual was identified known to the grand jury, would not be playing. In exchange, there was $5,000 of the bets if the bets against the Trailblazers were successful. In addition, a screenshot of a purported $20,000 wire transfer from bank account accompanied by the message, address for wire. And so these are all the different games that were allegedly rigged.
Let this soft mineral melt.
Now I would like to turn the podium over to Special Agent in charge of the New York Field Office. I should say the
First, breaking tonight, just as the NBA season tips off, a serious gambling scandal is rocking the league.
So it was poker and fixed games that defrauded betting companies and individuals, in addition to some other charges as well.
A player for the Miami Heat and the head coach of the Portland Trailblazers are among more than 30 people accused of schemes involving illegal sports betting and rigged poker games backed by organized crime. Correspondent Nate Foy has details tonight, live from New York. Good evening, Nate.
Hey, Brett, good evening. So there are two indictments at play here. One includes two former NBA players and coaches accused of conspiring with the mafia in an illegal rigged poker scheme. The other involves an active NBA player accused of faking an injury on the court as part of a sports gambling scheme. That player is Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier. Federal authorities arrested him in Orlando this morning. He appeared in court today. Rozier's accused of exiting a 2023 game with a phantom foot injury so that he and his co-conspirators, including his childhood friend, could make tens of thousands of dollars. Meanwhile, NBA Hall of Famer and current head coach of the Portland Trailblazers, Chauncey Billups, appeared in Portland federal court today. Billups is accused of coordinating with the mafia during rigged poker games where victims lost more than $7 million over 6 years. Prosecutors say they used this shuffling machine to cheat. They also allegedly used X-ray tables to secretly view cards. But that's not all, Brett. The indictment reads in part, quote, the defendants also utilized other cheating technologies, such as electronic poker chip trays that could secretly read cards placed on the poker table, and playing cards that had markers visible only to individuals wearing specially designed contact lenses or sunglasses. Former NBA player and coach Damon Jones is listed in both indictments, so that means he's accused of partaking in the illegal rigged poker games and selling insider information for NBA bets.
This is the insider trading saga for the NBA. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
The NBA said both Billups and Rozier have been placed on leave from their respective teams immediately. This is also the same investigation that resulted in a lifetime ban for former Toronto Raptors player Jonte Porter, who admitted to altering his play during games. He's set to be sentenced in December. Brett?
Nate, thank you.
Let's bring in Joshua Ritter, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, and a Fox News contributor. Joshua, great to have you on. I want to play this soundbite because I think it's fascinating. This is the commissioner of the NBA, Adam Silver, but it was 2 days ago on the Pat McAfee show, and he's talking about gambling and how it needs to be reined in. Watch this.
But we've asked some of our partners to pull back some of the prop bets, especially when they're on two-way players, guys who don't have the same stake in the competition, where, it's too easy to manipulate something which seems otherwise small and inconsequential to the overall score. We're trying to put in place, and learning as we go and working with the betting companies, some additional controls to prevent sort of some of that manipulation.
He's trying to talk about the prop bets there, which we talked about earlier.
But interestingly enough, he literally wrote an op-ed titled Legalize and Regulate Sports Betting in 2014. So you gotta wonder, it's so bizarre how this is taking place. Over 10 years ago, he writes the commissioner of the NBA writes an op-ed in the New York Times on how sports betting should be legalized. And again, I'm not morally against gambling. If you go to Las Vegas or you go to Atlantic City, if you have, don't bet your mortgage or the kids' braces or whatever, it's like you can only bet what you can afford to lose. If it's fun, okay. If you could bet whatever, $100, $50, whatever. It doesn't hurt you financially. But if you're going to do so, you go to Las Vegas or Atlantic City, or let's say your state has legalized gambling. But if you're the commissioner, the future commissioner of a league, and you already know, like Pete Rose, God bless his soul, wasn't in the Hall of Fame because I think he should have been in the Hall of Fame. I think he should have been allowed into the Hall of Fame, but he wasn't allowed in the Hall of Fame because of betting. And then you have Shoeless Joe Jackson wasn't allowed into the Baseball Hall of Fame because of the 1919 White Sox scandal, Black Sox scandal. So it's like, this is the thing that bankrupts leagues. Nobody wants to watch a rigged basketball or baseball or football game. And already there are questions about, the NFL. You can't end a Super Bowl on a holding penalty or, pass interference penalty. You just can't do that. I mean, we can go on forever, but let's continue. Where were we? Okay.
Meaning, hey, how many, if you talk about somebody like Terry Rozier, how many points is he going to get? How many rebounds? And so forth, and if it's over or under, you win a certain amount of money, and then the players are accused of manipulating that, Josh.
Yeah, do you think he thought something might be coming?
Right,
I mean,
right?
It sounds a lot like it. It's exactly what we're talking about here, is that this is a stat that no one, you and I, a casual viewer of the NBA, is going to pay attention to. Whether or not one player goes over or under on his time played or the amount of points that he has, but to people betting, it can be a big bet. And especially if they have inside information that he might be pulling himself out of the game early, the consequences could be millions of dollars in Vegas.
Yeah, and the thing to me is, you look at both of these different cases and you look at the poker one and you're like, yeah, I mean, this is the mafia. I mean, it's egregious, really bad. And, but it's been going on for a lot of years. They're using new technology to cheat in poker and using coaches to lure other, high, big whales in, as they're known in Vegas, the big gamblers. But this NBA thing, I mean, it goes to the very integrity of the game, Josh.
Absolutely. I think that part of it is going to have consequences way beyond today. I mean, you're right. A shady card game taking place in some back room of a bar. A lot of people are going to worry about that years from now. But the integrity of the NBA and whether or not players are involved in throwing games and the consequences this could have in Vegas, this is going to have ramifications for years to come.
And it's interesting because you talk about, well, his buddies were betting $10,000 on this and this person was betting this, and you're thinking, listen, you got a guy like Terry Rozier was making $26 million a year. What are you spending, what are you ruining your career for, allegedly, for 10?
Well, if you're making $26 million, what would be the reason? The reason would be the excitement, the adrenaline. And so that also, that kind of, feeling that you're doing something that is, exciting or gives you this rush of adrenaline or some kind of emotion, you're competitive. You're so competitive that the game itself is not enough. Okay, that could be one of the reasons. Some of the reasons.
$10,000 that your buddy can win.
It makes no sense. We were talking about this earlier. I don't understand it. What is the appeal? Is it just that they're interested in the hustle of it, that they can't take themselves out of that excitement of being involved in the betting somehow, or having this inside information? But you're right, they're making millions of dollars. This is not the kind of money that you would expect for them to make these types of decisions about.
I want to play this very quickly. This is Stephen A. Smith, and he's talking about bringing a little political stuff into this whole mix. Watch.
Trump is coming. Don't be surprised if the WNBA is next on his list. We've seen athletes.
If there's illegal poker games with X-ray card reading machines and rigged card shuffling machines, and if people are working with the crime families in New York at the WNBA, yes, Trump is coming. I like Stephen A. Smith. I listen to Stephen A. Smith, Jason Whitlock. I listen to everybody. I enjoy sports very much. President Trump is coming. That's a good thing because you need to ensure that games are legitimate and genuine and they're not rigged. Like, in many ways, politics. You can ask Bernie Sanders or Biden. Why wasn't Biden the nominee? I tried not to bring up politics too much here because I might have new viewers. Hit subscribe if you're new. Why wasn't Biden the candidate? Okay, he won his primary. Was the Democratic primary rigged? What's more genuine? What's more rigged? The Democratic primary or these poker games?
Get in trouble with the law before. You don't see the director of the FBI having a press conference. It's not coincidental. It's not an accident. It's a statement. Talk to people in the NBA. Talk to people in the NFL.
James Comey had a historic press conference after he covered up the Clinton email fiasco with top secret intelligence transferred onto servers illegally. There's no cybersecurity way to transfer classified and top secret intelligence onto Clinton servers from secure government locations onto servers that were secret in a basement somewhere. So Comey had a press conference. He was the director of the FBI.
Talk to people in the world of sports. They think this is like the tip of the iceberg.
It's not just a little bit of this and that, what Stephen A. One thing, it began under the Biden administration. Nate Floyd was talking about one of these poker games in 2019 began a long time ago. The other thing, it goes to the very integrity of the entire NBA, which is a multi-billion-dollar sport around the world.
I do agree with Stephen A. at least on one point, that I do think it's the tip of the iceberg. I can't imagine. I mean, every time you look at these federal indictments, you got to look at who are the unindicted co-conspirators that may not even be named. Right. Those are people cooperating, and there could be more information coming.
You wonder the big names. I mean,
there could be even league officials. I'm not accusing anyone, Adam Silver, anyone. I'm just saying there could be league officials as well. The headline for this live stream is officials, meaning the 3 main people indicted along with the 30 plus, along with the 28, 29 other people. But there could be, in an organization where you have, hundreds of people who are making decisions for an entire league, there could be people working, or working to facilitate illegal activity. Who knows?
That's the whole thing, is we've gotten these names, but as this investigation gets deeper and you start looking at more different bets along the way, the name list tends to go.
It seems to me like this is more of a mob story that found some NBA players and a coach, former player, who were playing.
It would be only a mob story, but we had the NBA commissioner write an article titled "Legalize and Regulate Sports Betting," which is very bizarre. Why any future commissioner would go ahead and write something like that? Very, very bizarre. But let's continue.
Playing along. I mean, literally put out as like bait in the water to draw suckers in from all across America. But millions of dollars involved. What do you think?
Well, I do think that they said it was a multi-year operation. Yeah. One of the names of the operation was called Operation Royal Flush. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they get kind of creative there. I thought Christopher Raya, who is the deputy director, I can't remember his exact title, the way he laid it all out was very impressive. And clearly they had great coordination. They had no leaks, and this is a story. This is one for the ages. And we have great guests for you: Clay Travis, Donna Rotuno, former FBI supervisory agent James Gagliano, and Jim Gray. Thank you all for being here. Donna, let's maybe just go to you first on the legal front, since you were there right before this press conference. What did you take away? Big surprises? Anything?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of big surprises. Frankly, that sounded like we were watching a movie. I mean, just the amount of people involved, the extent at which they went to perpetrate this, from the fraud to the cameras under the tables to cameras in chandeliers to, it really did sound like we were listening to Goodfellas or something. It was really quite extraordinary. I think we have to remember there's 2 totally separate indictments here, and although they came out on the same day and there's some overlap, we have one dealing with NBA betting and then we have one dealing with crime families and poker games. And so there really are 2 separate issues to discuss here. And they happen to come out on the same day, but they are 2 separate indictments, and we have to look at them separately, because the NBA betting, although they didn't talk about it as much, I think that's going to have a larger impact on society as a whole than even the poker games involving certain people and certain groups. But the betting has an implication on many people who bet on online gambling, platforms, and the trust that people have for regular fans. And I'm sure Clay will talk about this, but regular fans of the NBA, people who love sports, people who want to watch sports, people who want to believe that the game is not rigged. These have major implications.
Yeah. Let's give everybody a crack at the apple, and then we'll dive further in, Donna. Well done. James, what did you hear for the past 45 minutes?
Bill, I have to say, I think the lead was buried. I mean, they're going to show pictures of Jones and Rozier and Billups and the NBA logo, because obviously that's what kind of sucks everybody in, where you go, wow, these are rich people, they're famous people, and they were involved in an illegal gambling activity. Here's the buried lead. It's the fact that the mob is back. We've long thought of La Cosa Nostra, the 5 families of New York, and I worked on the Gambino squad when I was an FBI agent, as being on the way out. Well, 3/5 of them, only the Lucchese's and the Colombos, are sitting down right now saying, how did we not get a piece of this? But this is a fascinating case, and 31 subjects in one of them and 6 in the other. This is going to be an interesting case to follow going forward.
Jim Gray, thank you for being here. The NBA cooperated. That was one of the last questions that we had there. And there's so many strings to pull. The sweater could unravel pretty quickly. Your takeaway?
Prostate exams are outdated, and here's why.
Well, all of these sports leagues, and in this instance the NBA, are dependent on the games being real, not being fixed. Once you lose the confidence of the public that the games are not real and that they can be thrown, then you have just a huge, huge issue.
See, this would never, ever happen with the Showtime Lakers, with Shaq and Kobe, with the 90s Bulls, the Bad Boy Pistons. It would just never happen. It just would never, Larry Bird's Celtics, it just would never happen. It just wouldn't happen because Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas, they viewed it as life and death. The game was life and death. It wasn't like, it wasn't just a game. And so anyway, let's continue.
And that's the biggest concern here. When you have a current NBA player who's involved, and Chauncey Billups now, not accused of throwing games or doing anything to rig that game, but playing in poker, it just eats at the credibility and the integrity. And it's very dangerous and very problematic.
Yeah. Clay, your take?
And by the way, Chauncey Billups was one of my favorite players. Years back, he's one of the great players of his generation. He's one of the great players of his generation. It's a tragedy, really. It's a tragedy.
Two things. One, I bet there's some guys watching us right now who said, I knew I wasn't that bad at poker, the details here. This sounds like, I think Donna said it, a Hollywood movie in the rigged nature of the way the mafia was taking advantage of these guys.
I think it's the lore between the mafia and the sports players that are attracting people. But it didn't surprise me. That machine right there is a deckmate. That machine has a camera in it. It's used by casinos. That way that camera could record the cards or film the cards and let you know when a card is missing. And it can tell you exactly what card is missing. However, the cheats altered that machine to use that camera to know what the players have. And that machine would relay that information to the players who's going to win. They also used a scanning device, such as this one right here. If you take this deck of cards, we're going to just say for argument's sake, 3 people. If you take this deck of cards.
But also there could be a camera behind you. You're holding your cards. The camera sees it. And then the people you're playing with know. I mean, in the world today, there's cameras everywhere. So,
Shuffle them up. This phone looks like a regular phone, but it's not. It's a scanning device. If you listen, you'll hear it. 2, that means the second hand is going to win right now if I deal these cards out for poker. 2. So if you're sitting in the second hand right now, you don't have a queen 4 suited. You're staying in. Now you have a full house. I'm sorry, not a full, it's a flush, a spade flush. This looks like a regular cell phone, but it's not. If you see right there, it actually tells you who's going to win. I have it on display mode. If you put on clock mode, then you won't see those numbers. Those numbers would be transmitted to me via an earpiece. So I can hear 2, 4, 1, 3, 6, 8. And this will tell me who's going to win.
So let me ask him, if I walked into a casino and I sat down and I turned my phone like that and you got able to see that earpiece, would you just tell me to get up if you were running that casino?
Not at all, because players use their cell phones all the time. And if you said to me, no cell phones, I also have a watch that can scan those cards, transmit to my cell phone in my pocket, and then transmit by earpiece.
Real quick, I want to throw this at you. This guy, Matt Berkeley, was on a podcast. He's a known gambler, and he said that they knew about Chauncey Billups in the past. They said that very experienced players were losing in some of his games, and the players playing against the experienced players were doing things that were totally unorthodox. It shows they didn't even know the rules of the game. So this scam was beginning to build. When do you think this investigation really started?
That I don't know.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be doing more on this today. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. We're gonna give you a synopsis of how the poker games and the NBA games were rigged, potentially, allegedly, on H.A. Goodman's other channel. So it'll be about a 5, 6, 7, 8-minute segment instead of the 1-hour segment. If you're new, God bless you. Doesn't matter where you are, left, right, center. I tried not to make this live stream political, but I have, definitely you can watch the channel. I definitely have a viewpoint politically. Anyway, hit subscribe if you're new. Go to H.A. Goodman's other channel. We'll have a live stream on the NBA gambling fiasco later today. Go to H.A. Goodman's other